Hello and welcome to today's review of The Serpent Called Mercy, and a quick shout out to netgalley and the publishers for giving me an advanced copy. I read this on an ebook, but this is what the cover looks like. So let's go into what this is about. I have stolen this summary from a user on Goodreads and I have linked their original review down in the description, but their summary was just top notch. So I'm going to read it out for you now. So this is a Malaysian Chinese inspired fantasy city of Setgad. We have right. You're gonna have to stick with me on these names, right? We've got Lythlet and her childhood friend Desil, who live in poverty and in debt, barely scraping enough coin together to keep the loan sharks off their back. I don't know what that word is. Well, when the opportunity to claw their way out of debt presents itself, they enter an underground arena of conquessing, which is basically gladiator style fighting. Oh my god, seriously. You always announce yourself. And Lythlet's meteorical rise to fame seems to point towards a brighter future, but she soon discovers that when the underground has its claws in you, it does not want to let you go. Yeah, anyway, let's get into the actual review, shall we? This is a really unique setting, world, but it is just a little bit underdeveloped for my liking. So the Malaysian Chinese inspired backdrop really is like a fresh perspective on this fantasy world. Like I just said, I've never really read it. Every type of fantasy I have read before tends to be quite Eurocentric / white. Well, I haven't really been exposed to a lot of diverse fantasies, but I am changing that. There just could have been more to it though. So for example, we have the main city of Setgad that I just mentioned, but we don't really get much in terms of the outer perimeters, what's behind the city walls, where do these beasts come from, and what does it mean to be sun-cursed. So when the beasts are introduced, it does kind of give you some context into where they're native to, but it doesn't really go into any more depth about that individual place, which I think that's what's missing, just enriching the world a little bit more. Also, another question, they have these little hives, like a beehive, full of, I guess, fireflies that they use to light up their home. So they don't have like electricity, but they have these hives. Why? Am I just missing something from a cultural perspective here? If I am, let me know. But again, I don't know. Why are these hives a thing? The gods and the religion aspect is definitely alluded to and described a fair amount through Desil's devotion, but not as much as I would have really hoped to really be invested and understand it. World building, I would defo say, was like 60% there. There was a good chunk of it that you could get away with and that gave you the concept of what you were dealing with, but it could have reached that 100 if we just had those bits. It would have taken it right over the edge. I would not have expected the plot to go the way that it did after reading that first chapter. The first chapter is very much starting off with Lythlet being a little bit of a pickpocket, a bit of a thief, because she's trying to scrounge together the money to pay off the loan sharks, and then it ends the way that it does, and I would not have anticipated it. The concept of these debt-ridden characters entering a deadly monster battle was very cool and very well executed. I was as invested as the actual gamblers in the book. Some readers on Goodreads did comment that the battles went on a little bit, but I really liked them. I think that is where the character development and growth happened, was in those battles, and you saw the real dynamic between the two characters unfurl. Certain parts of the book, mainly the subplots, kind of jarred the story a little bit because they were a bit, I don't know if boring is the right word, but I don't really see how it fit in. I definitely think we could have done with book 2 or even a longer book 1, because it would have allowed for the plot and the world to develop a lot more. What I do have to say is the subplot that came towards the end about the poisoned builders was very, very well done and put in there. I really, really liked it, but it was tidied up way too quickly and way too easily. Again, I just needed another book. I needed this to be a longer book. I don't know, but here we are. So character-wise, I really, really liked all the characters that I saw. This is definitely giving me quite of a Six of Crows vibe. So I think the actual publishers describe it as a Witcher meets Squid Game, and I don't think that's any closer to the truth, to be fair. But going back to the characters, Lythlet starts off quite pathetic. You know, she's not really got anything going for her. She gets beaten up by her bosses. She's just a bookkeeper, and that's it. but then she kind of realizes her own worth as she does the fights. And that's what I mean, that the character development really happens within the fights. She kind of goes from timid and shy to self-assured and quite confident. She kind of addresses the demons and she wins. I really also kind of like the little side narrative that went on between her and the conquesting master. I can't remember his name, but he kind of mentors her for a little bit, and you see her going down an unsavory path and you get a bit worried. You do, but she kind of comes to her senses, and I liked that. I like that she had the chance to explore a darker side to her and then decide for herself if that's what she wanted. And then on the other side of it, Desil, oh god, he is just his little sweetie. He has a major little plot twist towards the end that I didn't expect, but I just really enjoyed their dynamic, and I'm so glad that this didn't turn into a romance. These guys are strong platonic friends that would do anything for each other, and that's what I love, right? Not every multi-sex relationship has to end in romance. And to be fair, there are a few other side characters that come in, that they meet, and friendships along the way that I really think are nice. And the introduction of Lythlet's parents, it's just quite nice. I did just enjoy the book. So overall, it's a strong debut with quite a few memorable characters in it and a really, really interesting concept, but it just needed more of a chance to develop in the concept and build out the world more. But yeah, that's it for my review. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!